dramatic. A lot of things happened. And if you go back to my live stream on Thursday, I said you could sell the Dixie. Um, that this 98.80 pivot I talked about was taken out and it rallied back to it and was rejected. That was a big trade. I said this increased the likelihood. 9,700 was the objective. Objective achieved, booked it. I'm not ready to reverse. As you can see, we took out this wedge line here, and we have really no divergences occurring at this time. Maybe on the daily, but we actually have a throw over. So we're trading right around this 97.11, which is 78.6 back. And, I'm not just going to automatically buy it. I need to see it do some work. Um, I'd like to see it get back inside the line before I start to commit to the long side. Also, you could see it in the euro that so far we've had a couple drives. You could call this one, you could call this two, but you could see we're not diverging here. So let me give you some guidelines. I talked about it before the dollar decline, about 119.50 in the euro. So we got up to 119, but you have to let it do some work. Maybe it's going to take a week or two for some distribution to take place. Same scenario in cable. Cable's even acting a little better because it's more of a risk on currency. And we have this top in the yen, it's over. Warren Buffett caught it. Warren Buffett went into the yen over the last month or so, big time. So, this is a major breakdown. I talked about in the room, we had a 2 week reversal. There could be some support at 52, but this is going to be long term. I really think that there's a shot that we're headed towards 140. So we need this to reset too, and then look for a failing rally in yen. But this is negative. I think it's a big deal. It could imply lower interest rates, and more importantly, it could be the beginning of the unraveling of the carry trade. So the carry trade worked even though rates skyrocketed in Japan because the yen kept getting cheaper. So if the yen starts getting more expensive, plus rates and yields aren't going to come down a ton in Japan, they're definitely not going to come back to where they were. So then you have two things working against the carry trade. What kept it going was a cheap yen getting cheaper. We start to get in a more expensive yen. The carry trade is borrowing yen, buying other assets. So it could end up having a negative impact on risk. Um, so that's my look on the dollar. It's premature to it's too late to I think to sell the dollar, too early to buy the dollar. So this is where patience comes into play, and you just wait for this to happen. I'll quickly address a parabolic move in gold. Um, there still is there's no divergence on any time frame, but I think you have to start to become aware of reversals. Silver still cooking, mainly because of this on the daily. I thought that it may have bottomed here, but if you look at the daily, I think it's important. Doesn't mean that we're not going higher. In fact, what usually happens, a trading pattern is we close great in both gold and silver on Friday. We're having follow through today on Monday. And I would look for some profit taking to come in perhaps on a turnaround Tuesday tomorrow. Maybe we get a little bit of a dollar bounce. So um, that's my take in it. I don't advise chasing it here. It's parabolic, but I've been saying that since about, I actually went in and it's amazing. Thought I was getting a great price selling physical here at 95, and here we are 14 better. That's a lot of money on the table. But I only sold, like I do in the market, a portion. Um, I actually posted a great article. You could go to my X feed, and it's by James Henry Anderson. And Guy has been in the hard money business for quite a long time. You could just go to my feed here, which isn't showing up. But check, here we go. Oh, retry. Okay, let's see what comes up. It isn't. Anyway, you go to my feed and check here. This is someone else backing up what I'm saying in wheat. But I did post this by James. So take a look at it. And I do want to talk about wheat, but first we'll talk about energy quickly. I've been bullish, WTI from the bottom, and it looks like we're running into some resistance. Last week, I thought that there was a chance that we could pull back towards this breakout line, and it still looks like there's a possibility we could pull back towards this 57 level. So you stay long and you hope you have a chance to accumulate more down at 57. I still don't recommend chasing natural gas. What a historic move. I'd look for fib retracements to get on this nat gas trade, which I think is more than just a weather play, but the power of this move. Look how much time it took to get down here and how little time it took to recover more than this decline. To me, that's impulsive. So if we get declines and pull back to 450 to 420, that would be an entry. Also, Bitcoin did diverge a little bit. We had like a little bit of a third, here's your, could call it 1, 2, 3, third drive to a bottom. I still think that we're going to take out this low at 80. All right. And I've been, beating this like a dead horse. So, it's kept me out of being long, but there is some divergence shorter term. And if the market's going to blow off with this weaker dollar, maybe get a rally in Bitcoin too. But long-term positions, I need to see it trade under that 80K level. I'm figuring we could trade 70. I want to feature a grain. Now, you guys on and off have heard me talk about the grains, talked about beans and corn, and wheat is part of the biblical trade. Think about it. Gold and silver and copper, metals, they're all around in ancient times and very important, right? Well, if you remember the story of Joseph, you could have had all the gold and silver in the world, but there was a famine, 7 years of plenty, 7 years of naught, and Joseph had his storehouses filled with wheat. So when I was on with Steve at the end of the year, this was one of my plays for 2026. Look how long this base is. I think you could buy it anywhere and risk the lows. And if you look at where wheat, like Mike says, it has it in it because it's done it before. Just check out where it was during the invasion when Russia went into Ukraine, $14. Okay. I think that it's going to be difficult to bring in the crop. They're already having problems in Ukraine. And say, for example, we're not going to 14, but how about just a fib retracement? But I would call this Joseph 2.0. Fill your storehouses. The way to do it in our modern age is to, get long wheat futures. They also have ETFs. Tecrium has an ETF. Believe this is it. Okay. Look, that this was 140, and this is a monthly, so it could just be beginning. Here's the weekly, nice divergence. Here's the daily, nice divergence at the low, and we're trying to crack through this resistance. There'll be resistance on the way up, but consider adding wheat to your portfolio. In fact, I believe that wheat will become the silver of the grain complex above corn and beans. So that's my campaign trade. Buy any pullback. Looks like it wants to. but still acting better than corn and wheat, on the verge of breaking out this range. Buy it anywhere. Wrong under the low of the move. That's in Tecurium wheat. And then wheat futures would be the same way. When you think about it, a 30, 40 cent risk in wheat for potential dollars move on the upside is a pretty good risk reward ratio. And with that being said, hope to see you in the room. There's a lot of participation happening in here. This is where I post. This is where Mike posts. And we'll see what happens with the S&Ps. Maybe they're going to just push to new highs, but keep an eye on something I think that was important on Friday. It's going to come in higher here. Maybe it makes another move to the upside, but it looks like Russell may have peaked. Perhaps there's one more push up or a 1, 2, 3, and actually looks like we might have some type of top developing in the semis too. But again, we could have a third drive up there, but I've been bearish and wrong. Although I caught this and I caught some of this, I actually added on to put positions in May in the semiconductors. So we'll see what happens here. We're about unchanged now. The video's up. So I think it's going to probably take a dollar turn for the market to peak. And I don't think we're more than a couple of weeks away. So let's take a look at the S&Ps quickly. They just blow off to new highs and get it over with already. Let's see. Yeah. So here's NASDAQ. Trying again. See if we could get up to the highs. And here's S&Ps. Yeah, it looks like it should be a layup for this week could be it. So we'll see what happens here as well. Remember, if you get the dollar right, you get everything right. I know people are going to really be bearish the dollar, and they were going into this, and this probably gives them even more confidence. They're probably piling on. You can't find, especially after what happened last week, anyone that thinks the dollar can do anything but become the Reichsmark, like what happened in the Weimar Republic or the Turkish lira. I still think that there's a chance that we don't blow out the low that we put in back here. There's the daily at 96.20. So we'll see, looking ugly, but we'll see what happens here this week in the Dixie. And don't forget the wheat, and welcome any kind of pullback that we get in the oil market and that gas to get long. Above all that, don't just